There are always surprises and changes around every corner in the Grip and Rip Baseball League. A new rule set to take effect in the offseason leading into GRBL Season 8 just might forever change the landscape of America's favorite amateur baseball league as we know it. But first, a look around the GRBL on this Labor Day off week in Ozark, Missouri. Hello once again, everybody. I'm Rance Burger. With me is the Grip and Rip Baseball League Commissioner Tony Lewis. And Tony, we've got 3 weeks down in the regular season, 4 to go. Let's take a quick look at the standings in the GRBL South, a team you became intimately familiar with on August 28th. The Nixa Suckers advanced to 3 wins against no defeats, so they are in first place in the GRBL South, ahead of the Ozark Mountain Ducks at 2-1. And the Branson Showmen at 1-2. How about those Nixa Suckers, the last undefeated club in the league?
They come on strong again. Spitz does a great job with leading his team, but not only did he lead it with coaching, he's also leading it with his bat. I've talked to him a couple times, especially after that very good beating that we took last Sunday. And I
13 to
was,
2.
yes. I said, I was like, Spitzy, and you're doing such a good job. And he goes, man, Tony, I'm seeing it really well. And that's just the fruits of his labor of practicing in the off season. Happy for Spitz and the Suckers. I'm not going to say that he's going to take the division. Very proud of the Ducks. Very proud of the team. Love AK's leadership. Love our team. And then also at the same time, Cobra Arc leading his showman to such a good win the last time around. Hope he recovers after his injury, after he's getting 100 strikeouts after the last game. You can never count out Cobra Arc's team on making damage into the offseason as we continue the second half of the season then leading into the playoffs.
Yeah, so real quick, the Nixa Suckers, Courtney Spitz and Matthew DiLeonardo lead the entire league in hits with 7 apiece. Josh Engler, of course, he's the league's strikeout leader. He got 10 on Sunday, so he is now up to 20. And you mentioned Cole Rourke, man. That Branson Showman game with the Springfield Metropolitans on baseball night in the Ozarks, didn't that feel like it had the playoff atmosphere going already in August? That just had a big game feel about it.
It did. It did. We had great attendance numbers that night. Perfect evening, and it was a back and forth the entire game. It wasn't a runaway by any means. I think not at any one time did one team had to lead more than 2 runs the entire game. It was baseball at its finest. I'll say that.
Well, shifting over to the GRBL North, it is the Republic Locos out in front at 2-1. Springfield Metropolitans fell to 1-2, but they are 1-1 in the division. And then the Moon City Mavericks 0-3, 0-2 in the division. They will look to get off the schneid after the break.
Yeah, Mesa, and maybe a unfamiliar position for him with his track record of being a coach, but he is coming out strong. I think he has something to prove this year to uh, not only win his league, but go very far into the playoffs. The Locals look great with the Cole brothers. They're doing really well, and pitching up and down with that team is good. The Metropolitans, the bad boys of baseball, they got a great hitting squad. But then you also can't count out the pitchers that they have, especially with Clay Murphy still lurking in the waters to try and shut you down. But again, how can you count out Dan England and his team? You just can't. He's got a talented group of people, and that's kind of the beautiful thing about our league is that the first several weeks are just kind of getting yourself acclimated to baseball again. But you could finish the season absolutely as strong as you can, but every team enters that playoffs, and you can definitely upset a lot of different people towards the end of the year.
Yeah, back to the Springfield Metropolitans. Clay Murphy and Andy Galley, they're 2-star pitchers, each with 16 strikeouts, so collecting Ks at a rapid pace. They have a team ERA at 3.12, second lowest in the league, behind only, you guessed it, the Republic Locos at 2.63, fueled largely by some great stuff from John Bortz. So, shifting over our focus as we talk about star players, let's talk about a new wrinkle coming to the Grip and Rip Baseball League. The managers already know about it. It's been on their mind, but we're kind of rolling it out to the players and to the fans here. Why not? A Labor Day holiday break. We've got to get people talking. I think this will do it. We're introducing a new rule called the franchise player rule, or the franchise tag, and that is going to come into play after the final out of the Howard Bell Trophy game in 2022. And Tony, depending on how it shakes out, certain players will not be part of the GRBL draft in 2023, and instead, they may have a chance to go ahead and seal their fate and hook up with a team, pretty early on in the off season.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for years. I want to say back the type of fantasy type rule of keeping your legacy teams has been talked about ever since Grip and Rip season 2, to be honest. And it's taken a lot of time to get everyone on the same page to agree to it. And like you said, the managers and us have gone back and forth, and we finally come to a conclusion of what we can all agree to. And I know you're going to kind of get into the rules, but each team will have one player that they can franchise tag. And the purpose of it is to start to create continuity within each team, create a face, create a brand. That's what we're trying to do. And that's like with the whole town push, designating a specific team to a specific town. Now they will have specific players and faces to root for as these managers make a very tough decision, a strategic decision on if they should choose or even not to choose if they want to franchise tag a player.
Yep. And so players have an option in this as well. So here's the quick mechanic of how the franchise tag will work. At the conclusion of the season, so again, the final out of the final game, each of the 6 GRBL managers can extend an option to one player to return to their club the following season. So the negotiations absolutely cannot take place until the final play of that championship game, and anything that takes place before that is going to be considered tampering, which is going to be a violation of league rules. The rule for tampering is very long. We won't get into that on this video. So just don't do it. Your team manager is not allowed to talk about franchise tags until the season is over. So once that season is over, each manager can offer one player the franchise tag, and then it becomes a player option. So the player has the choice. Will he or won't he commit to that team from the previous season for 2023? He'll have a little time to sleep on it, to think about it. Maybe he's even thinking about retiring from baseball. We don't know. So the power of this rule really does rest with the player at the end of the day. Managers will have until April 1st to submit one player name to the commissioner for that franchise designation, and then the commissioner will verify with that player. So there's no magic tricks or he said kind of stuff going on. All of that will get confirmed and verified. And then later on in the spring, the GRBL will be able to announce those franchise players. So again, it starts out as a club option, then it becomes a player option. So there's got to be mutual agreement. And that, I think, Tony, is really cool. Ultimately, the decision is going to be up to the star player. Does he stick with the club he's with, or does he enter his name in the 2023 draft?
Yeah, and like I said, it's not a. I think the most beautiful thing, like you said, the player has the choice, but it's all to start the movement of placing faces with towns, and that's not to say that every first round draft pick will be used as the player tag option. To give people more insight on it, where your coach, if a coach were to place a franchise tag on their team or on a singular player on their team, they forego that spot in the following year's draft. AKA, for instance, they draft Tony in the first round. Not going to happen. I'm just saying. Let's just say they draft Tony in the 4th or 5th round.
Sure.
And they decide to franchise tag myself. They forego drafting someone in the 4th or 5th round, wherever they drafted me. And I think for the following year, if we haven't really nailed down how this will go all the way into the future, but the whole plan is to create a team of fantasy players. And I think, as you've seen and as I've heard, the level of ball this year is just something we haven't seen before, and we need to harness that. And we always hear at the end of the year, oh, I'd really love to stay and play with this team. I really love to stay and play with these people. This is just the beginning of that type of movement. We're not going to franchise tag 5 to 10 players. We are testing the waters with one, and we don't know how that will look next year, but this is what we're doing this year.
And I think it does a couple of things. First, it maintains, the original intent from season one of the GRBL draft, which is that absolutely, the best back then it was 60, now it's 90, but the best 90 players who show up are the ones who are going to be on rosters year to year, and nothing is guaranteed. You have to be good in that season. It's also a nice incentive for the players. Hey, if you're happy where you are, if you like playing for that manager, all the more reason to step your game up and try to impress him and want to come back with that club the following year. So, as Tony mentioned, in the event of a franchise tag agreement, the GRBL club will forfeit a pick in the corresponding round of the GRBL draft from the same round where that player was taken. So, if you franchise tag your first rounder, you don't have a first round draft pick next year. If you franchise tag your 12th rounder, you lose your 12th round draft pick the next year. So could be a little strategy coming into play. And it's going to be very, very interesting. What we will do after we post this video, for those who really want to read it, is we can put out the full text of the franchise player rule, just so everyone fully understands. It's a pretty dense read, but some folks might find that interesting, I guess.
Yeah, and like I'm glad that we're bringing it to attention now. We didn't want to say at the beginning of the year, and we felt it was going to be maybe too late of an option to say at the very end of the year, or maybe put too much players towards the playoff round. But that is in play, guys. That shouldn't change how you play. The coaches may or may not talk about it, but it is there, and so we wanted to do this for you guys and create, like we said, a face with each program.
And a fun perk, in the event that you are your team's franchise player, you get to pick your own jersey number for the next season, right? Anything from 00 to 99 is in play.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I really like these coaches to run their own teams how they want to. As you see, Brock, he has his own style. They have their own black pants. And guys bring in certain snacks into the dugouts. Hey, you never know. A franchise tag might be in there to help that coach coordinate who he thinks should be on his team next year. That's up to the coaches. They could be as involved, or maybe not as involved in certain aspects of the league, but it's additional perk, that is for sure.
Well, that is the Commissioner Tony Lewis. And Tony, even though it's Labor Day and we're taking the weekend off, we've all got baseball on our minds. We're going to be back out there on Sunday, September the 11th, for a GRBL triple header, and it should be a great time.
Yeah, and great job, guys, throughout the first part of this season. Great job to the staff. You've done incredibly well. Let's finish the last half strong, and let's have an incredible playoffs. So happy and proud of everybody. Love you guys.
You heard the Commissioner. We will see you Sunday, September 11th, U.S. Baseball Park. And until then, we wish you good night from Ozark, Missouri.